So I'm Karl Scheider, Editorial Development Director at RBI. We're a big B2B publisher. You probably won't have heard of most of the titles we publish because they're in industry verticals. If you work in the industry, typically you'll know about it, and if you don't, you won't have heard of it. Despite the fact that I worked on Computer Weekly and New Scientist, I'm not a techie. It's been quite an uphill struggle for me. I'm going to show you just a few of the sort of nice little gadgets and widgets that we use. But you're wrong if you sort of get too tied up in the technology and the tools. Because at the end of the day, it's all about a relationship with your audience and telling a story. And that's, I keep saying that to our journalists because that's quite reassuring that the skills they've developed are still valuable and the relationships they've built in their industry are still really valuable. And the reason why we've been successful, I'd like to say, is all because we're very clever, but it's actually because sort of B2B publishing, I think, has an inherent advantage. We've, from the very beginning, been in niches, been about delivering to communities and being quite close to our communities. So I think that tends to translate quite well. If you look at some of the most successful bloggers and some of the most successful blogs, they have a very, very well-defined subject matter, a very well-defined audience. And so you can't short-circuit that. However much you use some of these sort of clever gadgets and tools, I don't think you'll be a successful blogger unless you focus on core, which is telling a story and adding value to the audience. The web is genuinely multimedia. So you've got to think, I've got maybe this quite complex story. Which bits of this story are appropriate to be told in video? Where's the picture bit here? Where's the images? Ways of telling stories that don't use words. So timelines, a good example, often a timeline showing how a series of events progressed. What happened when and what the relationship was between those elements are often a better way of telling some parts of a story than a few paragraphs of words. Nice, very cool tool called Diffity, but you can interact with it, you can have 3 or 4 different views on the same timeline, you can zoom in, you can scroll backwards and forwards down the timeline. So it gives more control over to the user, and it's a very effective way of telling part of that story. This is something to sort of get people to find other relevant stuff on your blog. It's a tool called Link Within. It's a way of graphically putting further reading material from your own blog at the bottom of content. So you can see here, you click on read the writing, but it says you might also like, and then these are actually other blog posts from the same blog with nice images from those posts. Nice graphical way of drawing people in. People will come across Cover It Live, which is a way of having sort of live chat that you can embed within a blog, and so you can constantly update and you can feed content in it from various sources. You can have lots of your journalists all feeding content into the same Cover It Live stream. You can feed Twitter feeds into it. You can take Twitter hashtag feeds. So if you want to pull together everything that people are tweeting about a topic under a hashtag, you can pull it under Cover It Live. Computer Weekly and a few of our sites used it to cover the budget earlier this year. So as the Chancellor was standing up announcing things, the journalists were commenting on what he was saying as he was saying it line by line. So often, a lot of our market's very visual. You want to have nice ways to embed images in your blog. You can do it by hand, but it can be tricky and take a long time. There's a really nice application called Lightbox. I think it's Lightbox 2 now. That lets you have this very flexible way of embedding images. You can do it in lots of different shapes, lots of different formats. Make the experience interactive on your blog. Journalism is becoming interactive. It's not something that you do to your audience, it's something you do with your audience. And in some ways, it's taking journalism back to its roots. Lots of ways to embed slideshows in blogs. There's a Flickr slideshow on the left, which is more sort of just a running series of images running past, and on the right, a slideshow where you can actually upload a PowerPoint presentation and allow people to flick through it on your blog. All of these tools are completely free to use. Some of them have premium versions, but they all have very, very good free-to-use versions. Just something to finish with. One of the great things at the moment is it is a fantastic playpen. There's a license to play and experiment and try all sorts of things. And you don't have to be hugely technical, you just have to be willing to learn and try things out, because it's very hard to break things. If you get something horribly wrong, it just won't work. Just try it again, or delete it and start again. So one of the things we've done through experimenting is we started to use Google Spreadsheets as a free tool to do crowdsourcing data journalism. So that means capturing data from our audience and then delivering it in a graphical form on a website. Google Spreadsheets has a bit of functionality that allows you to create a form which you can embed in a blog post that allows people looking at a post to actually input information into that Google Spreadsheet. Potentially in future, if you're looking to use your content to capture user data, a much richer way, because they have to navigate through the content to click to the region they're in, to click to the type of crops they have and so on, to capture much more user data. So for us, this is the more advanced left field end, but this is the sort of thing we're moving to do more and more of, getting our journalists to make use of these more data-driven tools. Brilliant. It's a bit of a lightning run through.